All right, let's dive into this incredible material you've given me about the Great Sphinx.
Yeah, it's quite a fascinating topic, isn't it?
It is. And we've got this interview with Dr. Campbell Price, who, as you know, is like a leading expert on the Sphinx.
Oh, fantastic. I'm excited to hear what he has to say.
Yeah. So much mystery surrounding this monument. I'm ready to kind of unpack some of that with you.
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
So first things first, for anyone who maybe needs a little refresher, what are we talking about here? Where is it? When was it built? The basics.
Okay, well, we're talking about the Great Sphinx. It's located on the Giza Plateau in Egypt. It's right next to the pyramids.
Oh,
And, most experts believe it was carved sometime during the Fourth Dynasty, so around 2600 BC.
wow, 2600 BC?
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
That's mind-boggling. So we're talking about something that's almost 5,000 years old.
Exactly. And think about it. It was likely built during the reign of either Pharaoh Khufu or his son, Khafre.
Oh, so right around the same time as the pyramids are being built.
Exactly.
Okay, so it was all part of this grand scheme.
Yes, I mean, this complex of royal monuments showcasing the pharaoh's power.
Power and also their connection to the divine, right?
Right. And speaking of that, Dr. Price actually describes the Sphinx as a living image.
The living image, huh?
Yeah. And what he means by that is that the Sphinx wasn't just a statue. It was intended to project this image of the pharaoh as, like, superhuman, godlike even.
I mean, it's a pretty incredible image, right? You've got the head of a human and the body of a lion.
Exactly. It's this fusion of symbols, and it's not random at all. The lion represents strength, power, ferocity,
Yeah.
all attributes associated with the pharaoh's role as protector.
Right, the protector of Egypt.
Exactly. And the human head, well, that elevates the pharaoh to a whole other level, closer to the realm of the gods.
So they're literally creating this visual equation. Lion plus human equals divine pharaoh.
I like that. Yeah, it's a powerful statement. But here's the thing. We actually don't have any detailed written records of how they built this thing.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? This massive monument carved from a single block of limestone and no instruction manual.
So how do we even begin to understand how they did it?
Well, we have to look for clues. And some of those clues come from the Sphinx temple. It's built right in front of the monument.
Okay, so right from the beginning, it was considered a sacred space.
Yes, exactly. And there's evidence of an enclosure wall that would have surrounded the Sphinx, probably made of mud brick.
Enclosure wall, huh? So it wasn't just open for anyone to approach.
No, no, they were definitely creating an air of mystery and exclusivity.
Makes sense. I mean, you want to emphasize that this is a powerful symbol, not just some random statue.
Exactly. And that sense of mystery, that sacredness, it was crucial to the Sphinx's symbolic power. And, this power continued to resonate for centuries, even after the Fourth Dynasty.
So the Sphinx wasn't just a one-hit wonder. It had staying power.
Oh, absolutely. And that brings us to Pharaoh Thutmose IV, about 1,000 years after the Sphinx was built. And this is where things get really interesting.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, you see, Thutmose wasn't just restoring the Sphinx, he was using it to legitimize his claim to the throne, like a power move almost.
Okay, I'm listening. How did he pull that off?
He had this large granite stela placed right between the Sphinx's paws. It's called the Dream Stela.
Dream Stela. I like it already.
And on this stela, there's this story about Thutmose back when he was a young prince. He falls asleep in the shadow of the Sphinx and has this vivid dream. And in the dream, the Sphinx speaks to him.
No way the Sphinx talks.
Well, in the dream, yes. And the Sphinx tells him, hey, if you clear away all the sand that's built up around me, I'll make you the pharaoh of Egypt.
Whoa, so he's basically getting a divine endorsement.
Exactly. So, of course, Thutmose takes this dream very seriously. He sees it as a sign, a divine mandate, that he's destined to rule. And by restoring the Sphinx, he's demonstrating his connection to the ancient symbol of power.
It's brilliant, really. He's solidifying his claim to the throne, and at the same time, he's connecting himself to the legacy of the great pharaohs who came before him.
Exactly. And it shows that even centuries later, the Sphinx was seen as more than just an old monument. It was a living entity, a conduit to the divine. It was a symbol that could be used to manipulate power and shape public perception.
It's amazing, isn't it? How they were able to imbue this inanimate object with so much meaning and power.
It really is. I mean, it wasn't just a statue. It was a statement about their entire worldview, their beliefs about kingship, their connection to the gods.
And the fact that it still fascinates us today, thousands of years later, That's incredible.
It's a testament to its enduring power. It's like a window into the minds of a civilization that flourished millennia ago.
And as we keep digging deeper, it's not just about learning about the past.
No, it's about gaining insights into the human quest for meaning, for power, for connection to something bigger than ourselves.
Okay, so we've talked about the Sphinx as this potent symbol for the ancient Egyptians, right? With all their beliefs about, like, pharaohs and divine power and all that.
Right.
But it wasn't just about one particular pharaoh in the end, right?
No, not at all. I mean, over time, the Sphinx became associated with a specific god, Horus in the horizon.
Horus in the horizon.
Yeah.
And remind me, what was his deal again?
Oh, Horus was a major god, often depicted as like a falcon or a falcon-headed man.
Right.
And he was linked with kingship, protection, the sky. It all ties back to the Sphinx, actually.
How so?
Well, remember how the Sphinx faces east?
Towards the rising sun guy.
Exactly. So that orientation facing east, it reinforces that connection to Horus and all that solar symbolism they loved.
So it's like the Sphinx is greeting the dawn every day.
Yeah, exactly. And embodying that whole cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth, very important to the Egyptians.
Oh, for sure. They were all about that. So speaking of symbolism, Dr. Price mentioned something about like sphinxes as an architectural thing.
Oh, yeah. He talked about Queen Hatshepsut, right?
Yeah, and those processional avenues lined with sphinxes. I mean, what a statement.
Hatshepsut was a smart lady, a female pharaoh ruling for over 2 decades. She knew how to use imagery.
But those avenues, what was the point of them, really?
Well, imagine yourself back then, right? You're a regular Egyptian, you're walking down this grand avenue, and on either side, these imposing sphinxes leading you towards some temple.
I'd be pretty awestruck, I think.
Exactly. It creates a sense of awe, of reverence. You're being guided towards the divine by these powerful guardians.
It's like a whole experience designed to get you in the right mindset.
Yes. And for Hatshepsut, it was a powerful way to kind of legitimize her rule, She was a woman in a man's world. She had to make a statement.
A very grand statement. It's like she's saying, hey, look, my power is just as ancient and enduring as these sphinxes here.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, other rulers saw what she did and thought, hey, I want some of that.
So it became a trend.
Yeah. Like Ramesses II, he incorporated sphinxes into his big building projects too. Karnak, Luxor, you name it.
So it wasn't just about looking cool. These avenues, they had a real purpose.
Oh, for sure. They created a specific experience meant to evoke wonder and reinforce that connection between the pharaoh and the divine.
But why only sphinxes? Like, Egypt had tons of mythical creatures. Why not, I don't know, a giant scarab beetle avenue or something?
Well, I think that goes back to the unique symbolism of the Sphinx. Remember, it's this fusion of human intelligence, the head, and the lion's strength. It's the pharaoh embodied.
Right. That image really resonated with them.
Oh, yeah. And centuries later, you see those stelae, the ones Dr. Price talked about.
Yeah, with the scribes worshiping the Sphinx.
Those show you that even then, people were still drawn to it, seeking its blessings, acknowledging its power.
It's almost like it became a symbol of Egypt itself, in a way.
Yeah, you could say that. It went beyond just individual pharaohs. It represented something timeless about their whole civilization.
So we've got this powerful symbol of ancient Egypt, right? But what about after that? Did the Sphinx just fade away with the sands of time?
No, not at all. Actually, the Sphinx is almost unique in how vulnerable it is.
What do you mean?
Well, the pyramids, they're mostly solid structures. But the Sphinx is exposed to the desert, all that wind, sand, erosion.
Oh, right. I mean, we've all seen pictures of it buried up to its neck in sand.
Exactly. And throughout history, it's been buried and uncovered multiple times, almost like it keeps being reborn.
And it's seen a lot of history, right? Dr. Price even mentioned it was sandbagged during World War II.
It's incredible, isn't it? This ancient monument, witnessing the rise and fall of empires, all that human drama.
Makes you wonder what stories it could tell if it could talk.
And maybe, in a way, it is speaking to us. Through its presence, the questions it raises, the awe it inspires.
Yeah, there's definitely something about it that captures the imagination,
Hmm.
like Napoleon standing before it or those old photos of archaeologists digging it out.
It's a timeless image. And even with all we know about it, there's still that sense of mystery, like what happened to its nose?
Oh, yeah, that missing nose. It's almost better not knowing, I think.
Yeah.
Adds to the mystery.
Absolutely. It keeps us guessing, right? And it reminds us that the past is never fully knowable.
Right. So, to bring it back to the facts for a sec, What happened after the Romans? Did the Sphinx just disappear under the desert?
Well, as we've been saying, the Sphinx and the sand, they have a complicated relationship.
Right.
But even as civilizations came and went, it never really vanished from memory. It was always there, waiting to be rediscovered.
Like it has a destiny of its own, a story that goes way beyond its creation.
Exactly. It's a silent observer to history, absorbing the stories of who knows how many generations.
And I guess its story isn't over yet. We're still figuring it out, right?
Oh, absolutely. And in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore how the Sphinx's legacy continues to shape our understanding of the past, and maybe even how it influences us today.
It's wild to think how the meaning of the Sphinx, like, it's changed over time.
Right.
It's almost like each person who sees it sees something different, you
Yeah.
know?
It reflects their own background, I guess, their worldview.
Totally. For the ancient Egyptians, it was all about divine power, right?
Mhm.
Kingship, life and death, those big cycles.
Right.
But then, like, later on, it became this big mystery.
Shrouded in intrigue.
Exactly. People
Yeah.
making up stories, trying to figure it out.
And even today, I mean, it still pops up everywhere, doesn't it? The Sphinx.
Oh, totally. Movies, books, even video games, it's like, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's this universal symbol that goes beyond time and culture, speaks to something deep inside us, you know?
I agree. I think that's what makes it so compelling. It's not just a static thing, it's alive in a way.
Right, right. Like it's still interacting with us, asking us questions,
Challenging our assumptions.
but its future is uncertain, isn't it? I mean, with the environment, all the challenges it faces.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true. I mean, the desert is tough.
Wind, sand, erosion, all that stuff.
And then you've got pollution, tourism, all taking their toll.
It's a tough balance, right? Preserving these treasures, but also letting people experience them.
Yeah, that's a difficult situation.
But at least, like, there are people working hard to protect it, right?
Oh, yeah. Archaeologists, conservators, historians. They're using all the latest tech to keep an eye on it.
Coming up with strategies, trying to make sure it lasts.
Exactly.
It's a reminder that, like, we all have a responsibility, don't we?
To care for these sites, absolutely.
They're not just for Egypt. They belong to everyone, in a way.
I agree. They connect us to our shared past, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And to the power of what humans can create.
That's a good point.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive on the Sphinx, what's the big takeaway you want our listener to have?
Well, I hope they realize it's more than just a statue.
Right.
It's a symbol of so much. Ingenuity, creativity, that human fascination with the past.
And it reminds us that even something so ancient can still speak to us. you know?
Yeah. It gives us insights into history, into the mysteries of the universe. Speaking of which, as we've been talking, it made me wonder, what does the Sphinx represent to you?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know if I have a single answer. I think that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
It makes you think about these big questions, engage with history, find your own meaning. And this deep dive, it's really just scratched the surface.
It is. There's so much more to explore.
So to everyone listening, keep asking those questions. Keep learning. Keep exploring all the wonders out there, old and new. And don't forget to subscribe to the deep dive for more insightful explorations like this one. We'll keep digging into those fascinating topics and help you make sense of it all. Until next time.